One of my favorite things that I learned to do really early on was make a three-dimensional shape by using perspective. And I might not been able to draw anything else, but because I understood the principles of this, I was able to add some realism into some of the drawings and paintings I did, which I didn't have before. And I thought that was real exciting. So I hope that you can get beyond any frustrating elements and learn to do perspective. So I'm here, I'm in Google, and I've looked for photos of house paintings because I wanted to show you the difference between um, something that used 1 point perspective, something that used 2 point perspective, and something that was primitive or flat. So you can see the row of houses here. And when you're looking at something where you've got a line right in front of the viewer as the edge of your building, here's a line that if it's an artist who knows what they're doing, then they're using two vanishing points, one that's going to um, the left and one that's going to the right. When a house looks like this and that illusion of space is no longer there, then we're probably using some kind of folk art. So, depending on how good the artist is, how much they like perspective, how real they want to get, you can see that they'll start using 1 or 2 point perspective. So, this one again has got a line right in front of you as an edge of the building. And this side over here is going to a vanishing point, and this side over here is doing it as well. This one may be drawn in 2 point perspective, but this looks pretty square in the front. So it's possible that only has one vanishing point, and that's there. And I know that's probably a little confusing to you. But if you're looking at the front of the building, like here, and it's completely flat and square and looks like a regular box, then it's 1 point perspective. If it looks like this side may be going over to the side and this side may be going over the side, it's probably 2 point perspective. Now, this one here says that it's abstract and abstracted. And this is like your fifth grade art boxes that, I don't know, maybe you did yours in third or fourth, but I did mine in fifth. And they gave us a piece of paper and we had to make a completely geometric shape with a box or a triangle. And we learned that all sides were equal to the side on the other side. So we start thinking that our buildings are logically one way, that all the sides are equal. And we know in real life the sides are equal. That you don't have the roof be smaller at one end and bigger than the other. But that's not the way that it looks in a photograph, and that's not how things look realistically. So we use this idea of things getting smaller as it goes off into the distance, and that would be a vanishing point. Here is one, and this is called a primitive. I've done my share of primitives. They're fun. They're drawing without perspective, like you would do if you were a little kid, but then you add all the details as an adult artist would. This is truly primitive over here. It's more in the idea of folk art. They may be more like somebody that is truly got emotional issues, and then they may be a brute artist, like we talked about brute art or folk art. But then you see the ones like this that are drawn and painted in a more realistic manner, like a photograph. All right, so this actually is 1 point perspective, but I want you to try to stay away from a house that looks like this, because the reason why this is 1 point perspective is that the vanishing point is right where my mouse is right now. It's behind the house. And that is truly difficult to do. See the line here on the eave and the line here. The porch is all going to a vanishing point here. So it's actually quite a lot easier to think about your houses when they've got a vanishing point over to one side or the other. And then, of course, stay away from something that is completely abstracted or that has so many dormers and additions on it like that, that it becomes so sophisticated that you probably don't want to paint it until later in your drawing. So first of all, choose something you really would like to draw. Like if you like old barns or if you like a country cottage or something like that, then that would be a direction to go to. The next thing that I want you to do then is go and do a Google search for a house. You see, I put photos of houses, and then you'll see all kinds of things that, and if you can take your ruler and go along the edge of lines and figure out where the vanishing points are, you can actually draw them. And again, if you are excited about the idea of trying to draw that specific house, then do it. If you look at it and say, OMG, I hate that, that one will make me crazy, then it's not a house for you to draw. Here is a house like Mrs. Pigglewiggle's house. If you read Mrs. Pigglewiggle when you're growing up, she lived in an upside down house. So that's an upside down house. That might be something that you're interested in doing. But I want you to choose the one that you think will be excited, and make sure that that was excited for you to do, that you can actually try to attempt it, and that you know where the vanishing points are. You have a diagonal line going to the left and a diagonal line going to the right, so it's 2-point perspective, or is it really 1-point perspective? Well, when I was looking, I saw all these bird houses, and I thought, well, that might be a fun thing to try. So I went and looked at the bird houses, because you can always, and I draw lots of houses and paint houses, and I usually do them digitally now because I can get really quite realistic with a digital house, and then I can change seasons and animate it and everything else. So it's my favorite way of doing one. But wouldn't that be a fun little house to try in 1-point perspective? So I've chosen something like that. And I'm going to go into paint. And you all should have paint if you have a PC. If you have a Macintosh, you don't have art software on it. But if you have a PC, you can have Paint or Paint 3D. And mine says Paint, and you can see here it is. And you can see Edit with Paint 3D. And I've opened up the image that I'm going to try to figure out the perspective with. And I put it to one side, and then I have my paper here. And on any drawing that you do, you're going to start with a horizon line. So there's the size of my line. I'm going to get the skinniest line possible. With this, I'll have to erase. I usually do my drawings now in Photoshop, and I can do all of my lines and my guidelines on one layer, and I won't have to erase. But that's not going to happen with this. So I've got my line, and let's see my line tool. My line tool will be under Shapes, not Pencil. And there's a straight line tool. And I'll start with my horizon line, and it has changed sizes on me. I know that's not the smallest. There it is. All right, so this one, you can see a line going off this direction. And then there's a line going diagonally that direction. One this way and one that way automatically makes that 2-point perspective. So I'm going to come as far as I can on my horizon line. I'm going to get my shape tool, or I can use my pencil, and I just make a little dot, and those are going to be my vanishing points. And I'm not going to try to do this as a very big house. because I could take it then and put it in a landscape somewhere and have a little birdhouse that's there, because it's kind of like having a mailbox, a birdhouse. It's kind of a fun thing to do. And this one is pretty complicated if I'm going to include this front room off of the front of the birdhouse. So I'm just going to start with this triangle shape that's behind it. And I'm not going to worry about the platform for now. And I'm going to draw my up and down line. And I can always make my, and I don't have a shape there. I can always make my canvas size bigger at any time and go and change the size of my image, make it bigger if I need to. All right, so that is actually the line that's right there. And I'm just going to ignore this for now and draw this triangle shape that is right there. All right, so that is my up and down line. And then I'm going to draw and my line. Going towards this vanishing line. This part of the box here. And this part of the box here will go to that point as well. And then see how that is now closer together than if it was just parallel. And that would be this box right here. Then I can connect those two lines. I'm trying to make it about the same size as the birdhouse that I'm looking at. All right, so I've got this square here where the door is, and I'm going to draw this triangle that is on top of that. And the way that you do that in 2-point perspective or 1-point perspective is find the center of it. And the way that you find the center of a box in perspective is by dividing it in two with an X. All right, so that is the exact center of where that box would be. And now I can go straight up. And I'm trying to make the roof of my birdhouse be approximately at what I'm looking at there. All right, and I'm going to overlap that just a little bit. And go past that edge. All right, so right now then I have just this front section of it. All right, and then the sides of it would go towards this vanishing point over here. So I can take this one, and that will go right about to there. Excuse me. So I'm trying to be fairly accurate on where I'm cutting that off. So it looks like when I'm drawing. And I may have it a little wider there. So I'm going to cut it off a little shorter than the lines I've drawn, because I'm trying to make it look like what is there. And then the top of the house will also come down at an angle towards the vanishing point. All right, so there is the edge of the roof there. And now you can see that the roof is going past the edge of it. So I'm going to match this angle that I've drawn from the top of the triangle right there. So I'll go to the edge of my roof and I'm going to match the angle so I have just about the same angle as there to there. Now before I